Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake! This is Mr. Senior Love Daddy, your voice of choice. The world's only 12-hour strong man on the air. Here on We Love Radio 108 FM. The last on your dial, but first in your hearts. And that's the truth. Root.
Three Films and a Podcast has no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode. All film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders and is used solely with the intent of film criticism, commentary, and education under fair use law. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Three Films and a Podcast. This will be our last episode of 2020, and we made it. We're all here.
Here we are.
Oh man!
Somehow survived, and
I never would have thought.
we'll tell the stories years from now about how we lived through 2020. So,
and we'll actually have proof because we documented it here on the pod.
Exactly, it'll be here. I was there. I promise. I remember all of it. We just wanted to do a little pod episode, being the last episode of the year. We thought it'd be kind of fun for us to review the year. This was the beginning of Three Films and a Podcast before we even knew that's what it was. Just starting out with the three of us just watching movies and, talking to each other about it and just kind of discovering some new fun stuff. So, that was the beginning of the year. Then about, I don't know when it was, about halfway through, we threw out the idea of we talk about it enough. Let's just do it as a podcast. And I'm super glad that we made that decision. I think this has been a lot of fun. I don't know how you guys have felt about it, but it's been good.
Yeah. I'm just mad at myself because we didn't start doing this until I don't know, pretty well into the year. We had all this time quarantining. I had a month off of work paid on unemployment. We could have been working so hard on this, but we just much time. Timing is everything, and I guess the timing just wasn't right then, and it is now. So I'm glad we did it. It's been a fucking blast. I've had so much fun.
I've loved it. Yeah, I think round 9 was our first one with Spike Lee. So it's just crazy that we had gone through, quick math, 24 movies before that. Hold
on. Let me get my calculator.
Let me just double check that.
$18,000?
Yes.
In addition to the $1,000 you'd already put up?
Yes.
A total of $19,000 now?
Yes. Hang on. I'm just checking your math on that. Yes. I got the same thing.
I did that for you. That was in my head. So I just didn't want to do it line for line.
Oh, I love it. I thought you really had something oh, it's cool, we can cut. No worries. Nope, just throwing out a great line.
No, but I mean, I guess just to chime in.
Yeah, please.
Anyone who's, I guess, been on the fence about doing a podcast, I mean, feel free to reach out for us. It's not like we know everything or anything, but it is one of those things that you kind of just have to do, and you kind of just learn along the way. Like Ben said, it was a text thread where we were chatting about each of these movies and very much of a movie club amongst the three of us. And we kind of just threw out that we kind of want to make it a podcast. And the only thing holding us back is that the three of us didn't want to put out something that just sucked or was bad, or we didn't want to just half do it.
Right.
And so I think once we all came to the conclusion that even if nobody listens to this, we want to give it everything that we have and learn along the way. Once we were able to pull that trigger, we just did it. And here we are recording almost every week. We're growing a following on social media, getting, some listeners, some patrons, and we're excited to see where this could go. And so whoever out there has that podcast waiting for them, just do it.
Yeah.
And talk to us about it. We want to hear about your journey too.
For sure.
100%. Yeah. The watching the community kind of grow organically has been my favorite part of this whole thing. I think just getting the involvement. We got the watch parties, we're getting the comments, on the YouTube videos or just, on our Facebook posts, stuff like that. That's really, I think, kind of what drives us. It's just it's so fun to talk about this with people. Obviously the three of us love movies. That's why we started this with each other. But it's like, we know people that love movies, and like, who doesn't, honestly, this is a good way for us to create this community. And that's been, I just think, one of the greatest things that's come out of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I look at it, the three of us as an example. Like, I knew you, Ben, and you knew the both of us, but I didn't know Matt until we started this club. And so through a mutual love of movies and just a willingness to participate in the format of how we choose movies and watch movies, I gained a new friend, and it's been awesome. Like, it's
Agreed.
It's been really cool to learn more about Matt and to like, get closer to you, Ben, and just like, that's kind of what we're hoping for on a broader scale with our listener base and the people that follow and listen. We just want to create a connection with you guys out there, and we want to learn more about the movies and your tastes that you like, and vice versa, and just share this love together. It's been super fun, and I just hope that you guys are getting the same thing out of it that we are.
Yeah, 100%. It's been fun to have some friends. A lot of my friends now are mutual friends with Tyler, so they all know who he is. But a lot of people ask like how I know Matt, and kind of go into like growing up in the same neighborhood and stuff. And then some of them who we would always go to movies with, like, wait, does he always come to the movies that we go to? Like, yes, he's that one. It's like, wait, is he the tall guy that dressed up like Luke? I was like, yes, that's exactly who that is. That is Matt, who was always there when we reserve a row. Like, oh, remember those days when we could reserve a row for the latest MCU movie or Star Wars?
Trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Isn't it technically better now because you can just rent the whole theater?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. I'm determined to do that at some point. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But
I don't know if we can do it in Oregon, but I did just build a sweet new camper van, so maybe I can travel down for a watch party in person. That'd be fun.
I think that'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
Live stream the pod, but yeah. So we've had a good time this year. We hope you guys have enjoyed it too. We're excited to keep this going. But we just thought, let's do a year in review. One of the trademarks, I think, of the podcast has been our Rushmore Mountains. And we thought, what better thing to do for 2020 than, come up with our Rushmore Mountain for the year. Because we want for our Rushmore for it to be 4 movies that were new to us, that happened, like that we watched because of the podcast. So that's what our Rushmores are based off of. So I guess without further ado, let's move on to our official year in review 2020 Rushmore Mountain.
These are OR scrubs.
Oh, are they?
Do you want to start out, Matt, with your number 4 movie of 2020?
Yes. My number 4 movie of 2020 was the first one that I watched. It was Ben's pick, and it was The Farewell. And I think it was a really great kickoff point for the movie club. Ben kind of reached out. I want to say it was like probably this. No, it was. I think it was in November of 2019, and it kind of thrown out the idea of bringing me on with you and Fuzz to join in the movie club, and it sounded so appealing to me because at the time I wasn't really watching anything. I know this was kind of an exercise to like not watch the same stuff over and over again, and I'm not much of a rewatcher anyways. But the idea of pushing yourselves to watch and nominate things that, have a reason for being nominated or just you otherwise wouldn't have watched was really appealing to me. And I'm a sucker for trying to find that unique experience in a viewing of something. So The Farewell was awesome. It takes a Chinese American back to China and introduces you to all kind of Eastern philosophy that you don't really ever think about. I'll never have someone get cancer and wonder if the Eastern philosophy on how to treat those cancer patients is the better way. It's always going to be a battle in my mind. Like, is that better? So that was a really interesting experience, hearing the argument, seeing the culture. It was a really cool movie to start off. And that's my number 4.
Yeah.
I love that you guys loved that so much.
Yeah, I had a great time with that. I will, to show my cards too much, but I will be talking about that movie later on. And I was looking at my Letterboxd review, and I wrote in there that this is the first movie I've seen this year, but talk to me at the end of the year, and I still think it'll be like one of the top 3 most beautiful films I watched this year. And I stand by that. Like, that movie just blew me away. And the fact that, I feel that way about two of these movies that we saw in the first round was just, it was a really great way to start off the club for sure. So, Tyler, how about you? Do you want to share your number 4?
Yeah, mine's tricky because the first 3 were pretty easy picks for me, but the fourth, I have like a 5-way tie for number 4. And so I think what I'm going to do is, when I first thought about this prompt, what 4 movies would I pick? This was actually the first one to come to mind. It might actually not be my top 4 favorite, which is weird to say considering the nomination, but yeah. I feel like it has to be on here based on the spirit of the podcast, because I don't know that I would have watched this otherwise. And it's probably something that I would have never seen. So for my number 4, I'm going to put End of Watch, because that was just something that it kind of snuck up on me. I saw it recommended on a Netflix thread, and we were in the middle of this this movie club. So I thought, that's a pretty, I don't know. I might as well nominate it for the movie club, and ended up really I knew nothing about it, and I really loved it. Gyllenhaal's really great in it. Michael Pena's great. Their chemistry's awesome, and it was just a fun buddy cop movie with a kind of a found footage spin to it. So since it fits the spirit of the podcast, I'm going to put that on my number 4.
Cool. Great pick.
That's awesome. Yeah, like. Matt, am I misremembering? Did you not love that movie, or what were your thoughts on End of Watch?
So my initial reaction was, yeah. I mean, if you've seen the movie, the ending's not supposed to sit entirely great with you,
right?
Yeah. So I don't know if it was a combination of that, but I will say that in hindsight, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I did right after. And I will also admit that now I've added Hey Ma by Cameron to my my playlist. And I blast that.
I hope that made your Spotify Wrapped for the year. Number 1, you're a Cameron fan. You're in the top 0.05% of Cameron fans.
Oh, man. But I mean, just to talk about that, how many movies have we watched this year where there's a cool scene of the actors singing in the car? There's a bunch.
Yeah.
You've got Adam Driver singing that in While We're Young, that's not what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh man, so good.
And then the Cincinnati song in Babes.
That's right.
Great scene.
Yeah. I enjoyed that movie. That ending does, sit kind of strange with you, but I think it's also kind of beautiful, the way it actually all kind of wraps up. But for my number 4, I feel like I'm just mirroring Matt right now, because my pick was from the first round and it was Matt's pick. And that is Last Black Man in San Francisco.
You two stick together.
I always come back to the old house. What if it's empty? What if we just peeked inside?
We could throw parties. You could put on one of your plays. We could yell. Where is this house?
Our old house.
That's not your old house, and that's not your neighborhood.
That movie floored me. I was just I had not heard of it at all.
Same.
When we went through the first round nominations, I knew I had wanted to see The Farewell. What was your choice, Tyler? I'm trying to remember.
Mine was Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, yeah, exactly. And I had
which
seen
was
that.
An honorable mention, my 4-way tie for number 4.
Nice. I love Dunkirk a lot. That was a great movie. And then Last Black Man, and I was just I have never heard of this. I don't know what Matt's walk on eggshells here, dude. We let you in. Come on, let's pick a good movie here. Don't pick some weird thing.
I had seen it on Obama's movies he loved list from the.
Oh, gotcha. So. You saw that there too, right, Matt? Something like that. Is that kind of where you?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So yeah, obviously I was the only one that was super out of the loop. I have no idea. Tyler's going to think I'm an idiot for inviting Matt into this club. Like, I'm about to watch. And then it just turned into like one of the most beautiful experiences I had all year long. Like spending every other weekend of my youth growing up in San Francisco and just having those feelings of like sitting in the back of the car, just like looking at all these, you know, these rows of homes and the hills, learning how to drive on the, you know, streets of San Francisco, that kind of stuff. Like this was just like nostalgia overload. Like this, there's no way I wasn't going to like this movie unless it obviously was horrible, but it wasn't. It was a beautiful movie. The two leads were amazing. When you have, you know, Danny Glover that you can throw in there as well, like that's always a plus. Just, I mean, going back and rewatching that, like while I was cutting the episode together, it's like, man, there's just so many beautiful scenes in here that I would put it up there with Farewell. And it's just like, it's crazy that like round one was just like, it was just amazing. Like I loved watching it. I loved the story. That was a great experience for me. So that would be my number 4 pick, would be Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Nice.
Matt, we'll go to Matt for your number 3.
So my number 3, and this is going to be a cliche that I drop, but it wasn't my favorite movie that I saw this year, but it was the most important movie I saw this year.
Nice.
Do the Right Thing.
From Spike Lee, director of School Days, and She's Gotta Have It.
Good people, please, if we don't stop this and stop it now, we're going to do something we're going to regret for the rest of our lives. Doctor?
Come on, what?
Always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
It was very timely for Fuzz to choose for us to do Spike Lee joints at the time that he did. Mm-hmm. It was very shortly after the George Floyd incident. And I think as white allies to the Black community, I think we were all pining for a way to educate ourselves and understand and empathize a little better than we had previously. Because it's an interesting place to be when something like that happens. And so Do the Right Thing, man, like right out the gate, it was already just like an awesome experience. We talked about it on the cast. Like I couldn't believe that I'd never watched it before. Mm-hmm. It felt like a cult classic.
Yeah.
Like it felt like something that I wanted to live in. Just like this
I want to live
Brooklyn,
in that neighborhood.
Yeah, this Brooklyn summer day, and it's so hot, but they're just living it up. Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, man, and I had no idea that I consider myself pretty like up in pop culture. Like even movies I haven't seen, I know what the twist is or how the ending goes, but I did not know the ending to Do the Right Thing, and so it was a shocker to me, and it was again timely. And it put me through that full experience, and the idea that an experience like that can totally shake a community and what that looks like when something like that happens. And so I loved what, Spike Lee brought there. We see all kinds of young actors in it, and the performances were amazing. And just the overall experience was just spot on.
Yeah, it was great. I remember watching that in school. That was the first time I saw it, and I enjoyed it. I knew it was well done, and I think I kind of left thinking like, wow, that was amazing that happened back then, and they were able to like make a movie about it. And then, like you said, it was just so timely to watch it now. I was like, oh, this is not stopped. Like we're just now seeing it on a regular basis. And like, how long has this stuff been covered up, but now, the advent of camera phones and all that kind of stuff, like we're able to see this. And it's just amazing how this has never stopped, but it was such a beautiful movie, on so many levels. The ending was great. The relationships built in that neighborhood. Like I was really happy that you chose that movie. That was a good rewatch.
Another one that was, in the 4-way tie for number 4, and honestly was going to make the list, but I knew that it was going to be on at least one of your guys' lists, so I knew we'd get some chance to talk about it. But yeah, it was. I'm glad we did it. Like again, in the spirit of the podcast, we're trying to watch things that we maybe normally wouldn't have watched. And so I feel like choosing a Black filmmaker telling Black stories was an appropriate direction to take the pod for at least that one round, because it fit the spirit of the time, of the moment, and of the podcast itself. So I'm glad we did it, and I'm a big Spike Lee fan, even more so than I was before with the podcast. So yeah, it was a good experience for sure.
Definitely. I would put all three of those movies on my honorable mention. Like 25th Hour is great. Malcolm X was so good. But the one that did make my honorable mentions and would have been my number 5 slot is Fuzz's number 3, if you want to tell us about that.
Yeah, so I picked Jojo Rabbit. It was another one that just popped into my head immediately. I don't really know what to say about it other than it's just like really fun. It's just like an incredibly fun movie to watch. Which is weird to say considering the subject matter. In my Letterboxd, I said what's the over under on year you would have believed that at some point we'd be able to make like a whimsical, uplifting, Oscar nominated film full of imagination set in Nazi Germany from the point of view from the Nazis. Yeah. So it's like what year over under, like 95, 2003, 1962, you know what I mean? I just loved it. It was super fun, super charming. It was just a good fun time. It was a blast, I wrote. So that's all I really want to say about it right now. Let you take over.
I loved it. I thought that was a great movie as well. Taika, for me, almost on the Nolan line. What I just think about someone who's just batted at 1,000 on all their movies. Like I've enjoyed every single Taika Waititi movie. So
have I. Yeah,
that was a good time. My number 3 was one of the more surprising movies for me that had always just been like, I need to get around to that at some point. So I'm very glad that we watched it. And that is Glengarry Glen Ross. That movie, man, that was just like, that was something else. I think I'm going to pull up my letterbox right now because I started out by saying, my God, that was wonderful! Exclamation point! Like that's all. I'm like, I don't know what else to say right now. But just going through the cast that movie has, I mean, Jonathan Pryce. We had watched Man Who Killed Don Quixote, so we saw him. It has Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Al Pacino. Kevin Spacey. He obviously has the issues, and I understand all that. But in the movie, he was so good as like the antagonist against every single one of these salespeople. Like he did a great job. And then I also put in my review that having not seen it and only just like knew the clips and things like that, I assumed Alec Baldwin was in this entire movie. I did not realize that he's in there for like 10 minutes, but man, what like a hurricane just like comes through. 10 minutes. Like always be closing like coffees for closers, just all that shit. Like, oh my God, this is all just from 10 minutes. Like I thought this was throughout the whole film.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you.
He owns that movie. That's just got to be one of the best like supporting actor, like just comes in and just takes over and then it's just gone for the rest of the time. Like that was wonderful. David Mamet's script, I said, if you put his scripts in these kind of actors hands, like it's I don't know, it's just like a beautiful chorus almost. Like they know exactly how to handle this stuff. He's a fantastic writer, and these are arguably some of the best actors that we've ever had. My only problem, one of my main problems with it was some of the slurs, that were in there, specifically, regarding homosexuals. There some slurs in there, and I think the literal only woman we see works at the Chinese restaurant. So like, there's definitely like some things that I wouldn't mind seeing changed in there, but for what it was, like this movie, I loved it. This was one of the biggest surprises for the year for me. What did you guys think about Glengarry?
Yeah, I mean, that Alec Baldwin scene, like you said, if even after he was gone, it felt like he was in the whole movie just because of how impactful and how small I felt.
Yes.
He didn't just make everyone in the room. He didn't just like tear them to smithereens. He made the audience feel so small, so insignificant. Like when he gets in that guy's face and's like,
I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
Fuck you! That's my name. You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name.
I drive a car worth more than you make in a year or something.
Oh man.
And it's like, oh man.
I drive a Dodge Stratus.
And when he's like, oh, I can't remember what he says, but he's like, the good news is you're all fired. Or wait, the bad news is you're all fired. The good news is if you do this, like you can keep your jobs or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, like he just commanded the screen.
He did. Just like seeing, I think I don't know. I should have rewatched it now, but I think it's like Jack Lemmon. I think he's the one that's going to get coffee.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? He's like, I was going to get coffee. He's like, no, coffee's for closers. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm afraid. I'm sitting at home 20 years in the like future, and I'm still just like, okay, yeah, no coffee. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, he owned that.
Man. Yeah, it was so good. And then just like throughout the movie, just the scenes that they set up, like the dumping rain. And some of those scenes, just like, oh man, the atmosphere that they created was super great. I would love, I mean, like you said about the slurs, take the slurs out. I would love to hear a roundtable reading of Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh man, that'd be so good. I'm sure it's been done, but that'd be wonderful. Cool. Let's move on to our number twos. Matt, I will throw it over to you.
So, like Ben said, at the beginning of the year, he could not recommend enough the movie Parasite. And I had it referred to me from a few other people. And it wasn't so much that I didn't believe the two people about it, but I just never found the opportunity to watch it. Then like it got nominated as as part of the podcast, and we watched it, and I was just like blown away. And it's worth noting, anytime you're able to experience something totally unique and totally new for the first time. Yeah. I didn't have anything to compare Parasite to. Like, I get out of a movie that I love and I can still draw it to like old Japanese samurai movies or like Arthurian legend, like all these themes and elements that they've pulled from other sources. And I'm sure those things exist. For like, I know Bong probably has his influence too. But it was just so cool to watch this movie, be completely surprised at what it was bringing me, having no idea whatsoever, and to have it be what it was.
Yeah.
And so just for that alone, being the complete unique experience that it was enough to reach my number two.
Yeah. I love that movie. That would easily be possibly number one, definitely top two spot. I just remember recommending it to you guys and just like feeling concerned. I was like, I don't want to hype it up too much, but I want them to know that if their life depended on it, like they would have to watch this movie. I need them to watch this immediately. How do I do this without threatening them? Like, I just need please watch this. It's the best thing I've seen in a decade. But don't go into it with any expectations. Like I don't know how to handle that. But
yeah, I had like avoided watching it because I thought it was a horror movie, just based off like the cover and just looks whatever. And I'm just a big old scaredy cat, so I was like, I'm afraid I'll watch it eventually. So like, I'm glad it got nominated.
Yeah, cool. I know we'll be talking about that in a little bit, but Fuzz, do you want to go over your number two for the year?
Yeah, number two was another one that I had put off watching because I was afraid for different reasons. But it's Marriage Story. We talked about it a little bit.
What I love about Charlie, he loves being a dad. It's almost annoying how much he likes it. He cries easily in movies.
I cried 4 times.
Me too.
He's very competitive.
What's this? Who owns Baltic Avenue?
He's very clear about what he wants. He's a great dresser. never looks embarrassing, which is hard for a man. He takes all of my moods steadily. He doesn't make me feel bad about them. He rarely gets defeated, which I feel like I always do. I thought we should talk.
Okay.
It's a testament to how good Parasite was. I'm sort of burying my lead here, but the fact that Marriage Story came in at number 2, considering I've thought about Marriage Story more over the last year. It's the one that stuck with me the most. But Parasite was just that much better. So yeah. I wonder what my number 1's going to be. But Marriage Story was so surprising to me because it was all the things that I was afraid of, in that it was, heartbreaking and very emotional, but it was just all for like different reasons. I was afraid it was going to be just like, there was going to be no hope in it, or no hope is the best way to put it. I thought it was going to be bleak, and I thought it was going to make me question all my relationships and, whatever. And that wasn't the case at all. In fact, it was more like reaffirming, and it was more of like a cautionary tale, or like a, I don't know. It left me feeling hopeful, to like, in a weird way, for considering how like sad and heartbreaking it is. Just like, you can work things out, and like, you just have to be honest and communicate, I guess. Don't need to turn this into a relationship pod, but
2021, 3 films in a relationship pod.
For as heavy as it was, I'm happy when I think about that movie. So, and then my favorite scene of the year that left me, jaw on the floor, with Adam Driver singing in the diner. I'll never get over how much I loved that scene. I was caught so off guard. I had no idea it was coming, and it was just incredible. So yeah, number 2.
Yeah. Such a beautiful scene. Just the one take. I know we've talked about it multiple times. We've already recorded the episode about round 2, that hasn't come out yet, but man, that's just one of the scenes that hits me the hardest. Like, I had cried a couple times throughout watching it, like a little tear here and there. But that happened. I was like, all right, I can't hold back anymore. Like, it's all just coming out.
It felt like the movie built it up to that scene. And then it was just like, volcanic reaction. Like, it just like, enough was enough. And
like, Noah's just waiting. He's like, I'm going to twist this knife one more time on these guys.
I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I was just what is happening? I was like overcome. I was just like staring at the screen, slack jawed, like.
And
I
think about it now. I mean, this the scene ends like right after he finishes the song. But it's like, what happens right after that? Do you just like slink back into the booth? Like, all right, guys. So who wants to go next? Hey, dude, Don't Stop Believing next. What should we do? Let's liven this up a little bit. But yeah, no, that's a wonderful movie. And to again, like, show my cards, I will be talking about that shortly. But my number 2 has already been discussed as well, and that is The Farewell. That movie, I don't know. I feel dumb sometimes when I'm like talking about movies. I'm like, I don't know what to say. And like, it was beautiful. It blew me away. Like, it's the kind of movie that is so specific that it can kind of relate to everyone. Like, this is about a girl who goes back to like where she was born and lived very briefly, into a culture that she's not super familiar with, surrounded, just by this tradition, that happens in the family, like not understanding, like, why wouldn't you just say something? Why wouldn't you tell her, that kind of a thing? And I think, to an extent, that's what the success of the movie is about for me. It's just like, yeah, we've all been in situations where we don't really know what's happening. You're trying to like navigate your way through it. And I just think this was done so wonderfully. I could watch this movie, like, the story is great. I would watch it, but just to enjoy the movie, but I'd also just put it on mute and just look at it. Like, it was just, It's shot so well. It's so interesting to capture, the neon lights, of being downtown, but also just the wedding scene when everything is just so like pristine, but kind of cheesy a little bit, a little whatever, and all the speeches and everything. It's just it's so interesting, and there's a generational gap, but also a cultural gap, and we really like dive into that throughout this movie, and it just it stuck with me. I mean, we watched it in January, almost a year ago, and I still just like think about it a lot. Really enjoyed that movie. So I know we already talked about it. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to say about Farewell, or we can move on to our number ones.
Let's do it.
So Matt, let's hear it. What was the number one movie of 2020 for you?
So I have to go with, so I already said early in the pod that I'm not much of a movie rewatcher. I'll do it from time to time, especially if it's like for nerdy reasons. I'll watch like Star Wars or superhero movies. But as far as like films, I don't really rewatch often unless I'm like referencing or just, I need to catch up over the last few years. But I watched Last Black Man in San Francisco, and I immediately watched it again right after.
Oh, wow.
And then I watched it again the next day.
Wow.
And so, I couldn't really figure out like why I was just like into it so much. Like I mean, it had to do with like, I love the city of San Francisco. Like I went on my honeymoon in San Francisco. I went for my first time when I was 8. I obviously don't have the intimate relationship that Ben has with the city, but like it's a city that I absolutely love. And so to see like the movie is a love letter to San Francisco, first and foremost. And the actor and writer of the movie, Jimmy Fails, he basically plays himself and basically portrays his experience, which just felt so real, seeing it and experiencing it. And again, it's the beauty of this movie club has been going on experiences and seeing and feeling things that I'd never experienced before. And this was certainly that for me. And also just like seeing Jonathan Majors for the first time, and also just this year seeing the other roles that he's already done, has been really cool. Like he's an awesome actor, and the music, oh man. And just, I could watch those shots from the beginning over and over and over again for the rest of my life, and I would never get tired of it.
It's a photogenic city, man.
Yeah, them on the skateboard together and just all the slow-mo. It was beautiful.
Yeah. That was on my honorable mentions, tied for fourth place.
Yeah, we talked about Last Black Man earlier, but just echo all that stuff. This was a great movie. I think we all really enjoyed it.
Same.
Fuzz, let's hear number one for 2020.
Surprise, surprise! It's Parasite.
아 잠깐. 제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 네 사촌.
I mean, what else could you say about Parasite? It was nothing like I thought it was going to be, but also at the same time, it was exactly what I expected. I thought it would be about like a home invasion sort of thing, and it was just like not at all in the way that I expected. And on the off chance that someone who's listening to this podcast hasn't seen it, I won't say too much more. Because it's something I would be truly heartbroken if I spoiled it for someone else. So, but my favorite movie of the year, which is saying something considering some of the incredible movies we've watched this year. Including a lot of the ones that have made your lists and are honorable mentions and stuff. But yeah, Parasite, number one.
Love it. Such a good choice. I'm kind of glad I saw it beforehand, so I didn't have to fight between that and Marriage Story for my number one. Because when I walked out of Parasite, I was like, "Oh, it was a 5-star movie." Like I feel like I'm kind of thinking in Letterboxd now after we watch something. It's 5 stars. That's done. And Marriage Story was 4.5, and then on the rewatch, I gave it 5. Like, I don't know. I guess I'd give the edge to Parasite because I knew immediately like that's a perfect movie. Like I love everything about that. So, could not agree more with you. So having said that, my number one is Marriage Story. That's I don't know. I mean, it kind of hits me for different reasons. I guess that's why movies, affect us so much, because we can relate to them. So as a child of divorce, I think that definitely kind of hit me, kind of putting myself in the shoes of their kid and just kind of seeing what these parents are going through. It's been interesting kind of doing research to learn more about Marriage Story and Noah Baumbach's like, no, it's a love story, but it's a love story just told through the device of a divorce. I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. These people really do love each other, just like the relationships isn't going to work together anymore, but they do have each other's, best. I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. Best interests in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I loved it. It was great. It was nice seeing the change from the focus on Scarlett Johansson at the beginning to kind of going more towards Adam Driver at the end. We got to like balance it out.
Yeah.
The supporting cast is flawless. Laura Dern, I believe she did win the Oscar for best. Is that right? Supporting actress. I think she won for that.
I believe so. Yeah.
A lot of nominations though for this movie. I know I wrote for myself in my Letterboxd, not trying to sound too pretentious or whatever, but it's like I feel like I was looking at a TV and sometimes I felt like I was looking at a mirror, oh man, like I feel like I relate to some of this stuff. I was really young when my parents split, but they reconciled a little bit when I was 16, and so that was weird for me to kind of seem like, oh, these guys really did love each other at some point. Like I just kind of grew up with them apart, but now I see like what the friendship was built off of, from the beginning, and they talk now all the time, and I think that's great. I love that, and this kind of I think made me think about that. It's like, oh, I feel like there's always a love there between them, but they just kind of knew like, all right, this isn't going to work anymore. I'd watch Being Alive 100 times. That scene just floors me. Just I love the father-son relationship. I think about that all the time. Like I cried 4 times. I did too.
I wonder if they were the same parts.
So
I cried 4 times.
Me too.
He cries easily in movies.
I wonder if it was the same 4.
For some reason, like that's like in a montage of things that they're doing. That's like the line that sticks with me the most from this movie. It's so good.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. The Criterion Collection came with the letters that they read throughout the movie. And that was just another nice, I guess,
great touch.
Yeah, like you said, just kind of like tie that throughout the whole movie, just like talking about how much they really do love each other. So. Yeah, I don't know. I know we've talked about Marriage Story a lot. Adam Driver kind of took over the pod this year.
With good reason.
With very good reason. And I'm sure we'll get more into that as we do more of these little pods who always seem to go over an hour. I know we always intend for these things to be super short, but it's like, oh, this is like kind of fun just to talk about this stuff. So
for sure.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, to you guys, like, I've had a blast doing this with you guys. I'm excited to continue to do it. This has been just so much fun. I think it's a great dynamic between us, as far as even just skill sets and just like the way that we all work together and communicate with each other. I love it. This has been an absolute blast. And I hope that's coming across to everyone that's watching or listening. Like, we are genuinely, friends with each other and having a great time doing this, and we want that to continue. We want that to just like spread throughout the community. We want to have this involvement. I know a big goal of ours for 2021 is to have some guests on. I think that's going to be a huge thing that we're all looking forward to. We want people in the community to come, have a real direct influence on the podcast. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I've had a great time this year, and I can't wait to get into 2021. I know we're going to finish up our partner picks, and then we're moving on to trilogies, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then who knows what Matt's got in store after that. We'll see what the next round is after trilogies. But
yeah,
you never know what that wily Weiler.
Who knows what's going to happen? Yeah, I don't know if you guys had any thoughts or anything like that for the year, or we can just close out whatever you guys want.
Yeah, no, just echoing a lot of the same stuff you said. It's been a project that, I think everyone at some point, well, I don't know if everyone, but I'm sure a lot of people at some point have wondered, I should start a podcast, or that'd be an interesting podcast. And I'm just glad we finally did it. It's been super fun. It's been a cool creative outlet and a fun way to experience new stuff and be more engaged with, people on Instagram and stuff and our fans, so to speak. But yeah, no, it's been really cool. And getting to know Matt better and spending more time with you, Ben, has been really cool. It was a shining light in the shitstorm that was 2020. So, thank God for the pod, I guess you could say.
Exactly. New t-shirt.
It's been the best. I had a goal to start a podcast this year.
Oh.
I had no idea it would turn into this.
Oh, nice.
And obviously Ben's doing all the heavy lifting on the back end of this. So it's I feel like I'm just kind of along for the ride and kind of am able to check this off the list, but it was cool that it kind of organically evolved into what it is. No one was really we didn't get into this to start a pod at all.
No.
And so it kind of just the natural thing became, hey, why don't we just turn this group thread into, where we chat about these movies. And then Ben ordered microphones and then we set up a time. And then here we are pretty set almost every week, sitting down and discussing this and doing our best to get the system down and also where we can researching ways to make it better. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been super rewarding. As you guys have said, spending time with you guys, learning from you guys and getting to know you, and also just interacting with new people, through social media.
For sure.
A blast.
Yeah. It's been a great time. We appreciate everyone's support, everyone that's, come to the watch parties or commented on our Instagram posts or YouTube videos, anything like that. This is all we're trying to do. Just, kind of create a fun community, a fun movie club for everybody. It'd be super helpful for us if you like and subscribe to anywhere that you see us. Give some reviews. That'd be great. We want to spread the word out there as much as possible. If you'd like to become a Patreon, we'll put a link to that in the video as well. Anything's great, but we all understand what 2020 has been like, so we totally get it. But again, just super thankful for everyone who's come along this journey with us, and we look forward to seeing you guys next year. Thanks.
Thank you.
God save the pod.
All right. No, she's fantastic. I mean, I love her in just about everything. I mean, she's on my celebrity crush, Rushmore Mountain, without a doubt. But
your Crushmore Mountain?
My Crushmore Mountain.
There we go.
I'm so mad I didn't think of that. Yeah.